Friday night, I want a Chippy Tea. Chippy Tea, Chippy Tea, I want a Chippy Tea. Oh, you can give me posh, no, she don't agree with me. I don't want lobster thermidor with raspberry coulis. It's Friday night, I'm within me rights, I want a Chippy Tea.
Welcome to episode 24, am I right, Danny?
You are, yep, 24.
Episode 24 of the Chippy Tea podcast. What is the Chippy Tea podcast? It is a nice, relaxed, slow chat between two printers from up north. Me, Tony Palmer from Palm Print, and
Danny Donald from Danny D from Flipping Sweet Print Co. Got me out there. Tried to catch me out.
Yeah, just a little bit. If you're wondering why I sound a little bit strange, it's because this microphone is in a bucket of snot, so it's I've got a bit of a head cold, so apologies for that in advance. You will sort of get the occasional snot bubble and cough, but put up with it, it's real life.
I just always sound like this. Sorry.
That's because of where you live.
Yeah. It's bloody nippy now, tell you.
It is a bit nippy, it's a bit chilly out, yeah. So we'll kick off this week, as we always do, because it's mainly tradition now, and we've sort of got into it, in trying to analyse exactly what the hell went wrong last week, what made us smile, what made us chuckle, what made us go, I wish I trained as a plumber, and we'll throw it straight out to you, Danny. What really stands out, the one thing, 10 words or less, this week?
Right, well, you know what, I want to start on high. Because I've been a bit of a Debbie Downer recently, haven't I? Yeah. So I don't want to start a podcast on a negative. Because there's a couple, but I want to start on a positive.
Put your happy pants on. Put your happy pants on.
Put my happy pants on. I put my best kegs on. So, I've got a show and tell for you, which I should have put here, but now we have to get up and grab it. Now, you'll just have your coffee for it.
Looks slick, don't worry. Oh, is this is this what we discussed last week?
Yeah, this is what's not possible. This is what you can't do, Tony. Anyway,
let me just dodge that thing that you threw at me. A little bit of shade that you got thrown. I dodged it. It's all right.
Did I come across? Didn't know. Anyway, so I have to give
tell me you did it wet on wet, and I'll let you have it.
All right, fair enough.
Thank you.
Now I have to offer up a disclaimer. So this job, I had 2 test rags available to get this right, and this is my second.
Okay.
My third print was basically production. Now I made my very first test print. So basically, let me explain this. Let me explain what I'm going to show you. This is a CMYK print with a spot colour on a black T-shirt. Now, what I did is I discharged the underbase. Oh,
cheated. Right, okay.
Yeah, cheated, basically. I then printed the very same CMYK colours that I used a few weeks back on top of the discharge.
Okay.
Now, this is the second version. The full production, I made some changes. And what I did is, so when I show you, she's got a bit of a suntan. What I found the best method was to screen print CMYK 2 pulls apart from magenta, which I only pulled it once, which I have the advantage on a manual because I can flash between colours. So I had that at my disposal. But anyway, here she is. Now, like I say, she's got a bit of a tan. She's been to Magaluf. She's been to Shagaluf. Bless her.
No, it's really good. Like it.
Yeah, well, this is not as good as the production. This is why I'm trying to excuse myself a little bit.
You don't have to make excuses. It looks good. How many pieces were it?
It was not a big run. It was only 25, but it was the exact same front and back. So essentially, it's 60. 60?
So let me 50. Yeah, sorry, we're really not good with numbers. So let me throw this at you. You got 4 channels of colour.
Yep.
And one of them was too strong, your magenta.
Magenta were too strong.
So you basically increased the strength of the other 3 by double pulling the other 3.
I have, yeah.
you could have reduced the strength of the magenta by adding neutral base to your magenta.
Yes. Yeah, I could have done. That's a good suggestion.
Yeah. Now, the reason we don't do that, although I did that last week, a week before when I were doing it, because I had a cyan in my colour mix that was from a different manufacturer.
All right.
So it was automatically too strong
Right.
to the factor of about 4. So once I'd used all my press parameters to reduce that channel, to reduce that screen, using everything on press, pressure, speed, angle, then I couldn't take it any further. It was still too strong. So I had 2 options: remake the art, and reduce the strength of that channel inside Photoshop, which is very simple to do, but it meant making another screen. And I'll be honest, I didn't have one. Or reducing the strength of the ink.
Yeah, see, I didn't
So
think
by
of that.
reducing the strength of the ink, we have 2 major issues. Number 1, we can lose opacity, so power in the design. Shadows go grey rather than black. So we start to lose a little bit of contrast in the design. Number 2, if we do this often enough, we go to the ink shelf and we've got magenta 90%, magenta 80%, magenta 70%, magenta 60%, magenta 50%, and nobody wants all that shit on the shelves.
No.
So the correct answer to that problem when the magenta was too strong is go back to the art, reduce the strength of the magenta channel, and come back and remake it. But in the real world, we have been known to either increase the strength of the other 3 or decrease the strength of the ink.
I mean, one pull. So, I mean, as we sort of talked about when I did the white version, it's so vitally important that you get your CMYK one pull, same angles, same pressure, consistency is key. And I started off the process exactly the same with the black shirts, only on a white discharge, and the colours were nowhere near vibrant enough. They didn't pop at all. So my initial sort of solution to that was to double hit. Yeah. And everything worked well apart from that double hit of magenta just gave a sunburn, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I found the right balance for 2 yellow, 2 blue. So bear in mind, there were no black either. Because I was on a black shirt, the black was in the halftones, basically. So
your base, you did a toned base. You didn't fall to the easy out of just a square white.
No. We had proper.
Some people do that. Some people put a square white and it looks shit.
Does it? Well, that's answered the question because I kind of after I'd done it. Believe it or not, that wasn't where I went to first. I mean, John did the separations anyway. But when I was thinking about the whole process, my thought process was, well, let's half-tone the base with discharge and then just CMYK on top. And actually, we even had a highlight white, which I took a tip from you and John. We put the highlight white under the CMYK, and actually that works really well. Yeah, that's a great tip.
It brings up strength. It really. We call it a crush white or a wet white, and it works really, really well to bring up brightness of, let's say, the yellow. You know, where you want the yellow to be brighter, and then where you want the yellow to be still clean but not as strong. You can't use the shirt because yellow onto black, it just disappears. So what you do is you use 2 strengths of white underneath the yellow.
Yeah.
Where the double strength of white is underneath the yellow, it's super bright, and where the 1 strength of white is underneath the yellow, it's just bright yellow.
It works a treat. So what was happening is when I printed the highlight white last, which you would typically do on a normal job, the hair, which is a very light blonde, became solid white. Yeah. But putting it underneath, it added that toner. Yeah. I would definitely agree that printing CMYK on black is not as good, and it's tricky, and it requires a bit of bodging. And the overall finish of the black version is not as nice as the white version. I won't say it's a million mile, but
okay. So to return the shade you threw at me at the beginning, if someone says to you,
"Come on, it's all right,"
can you do CMYK on white? Can you do CMYK on black? What's your initial response?
It's tricky, and get it DTG'd.
So I honestly believe that John could have got you that in specialist separations, but you're probably one colour short on your press.
Yeah, definitely. That extra colour would have made a big difference. And in hindsight, having spoken through this job with John after printing, we've got a method in mind, which we think will be better still. But I kind of have to keep that one quiet because it was a little bit... He wasn't really supposed to tell me. So. But anyway, it's a very interesting method.
Have you talked him to getting him on yet?
Oh, I'll keep trying. He's not having it. We're going to have to do the old pixelated face and voice changer.
Crime watch, yeah.
And we'll make it in black and white as well.
Yeah. So I probably would have been tempted to drop some white in those colours as well. Like I said before, it's
Actually,
a risk.
That makes so much sense.
Because that would have lightened your magenta up.
Yeah.
Because so you're still putting the same amount of ink down, so you're not losing the dots like you do with a double stroke. But you're getting the brightness and opacity that you seem to be missing on your first stroke. You know, when you did everything one and it looked wishy-washy? That little bit of white would have brought that up. Now, massive disclaimer, skin tones, it's really hard to get that balance right. It really is. It
would have been a case of adding a bit of white, adding a bit of white until I got there. And I ran out of test rags, so... And I tell you...
You need to buy some test rags.
I do, yeah. Well, where do you even get test rags from nowadays? I don't know anyone who actually sells them.
I've got a couple of guys that sell them, and I've got a company one. We're going to cut them up for me and let me sell them.
Oh, you'll do it then.
I didn't think round here, certainly not round Yorkshire, that people would pay for scraps.
I would. Well, I paid £100 for a roll at Melts, so...
Hang on, I could still hear Roper laughing. All the way to HSBC.
Do you know what? I actually got in touch with it. Well, not Dave. I got in touch with Screen Print World, and I emailed them about it. Now, I offered up some constructive criticism. It wasn't a complaint. I just said, I just want to give you a little bit.
I just want to tell you that black stuff's not flame-proof.
No, I did it in a very polite, constructive manner. And actually, you'll find if you go to order it now, they've added a disclaimer that it's not for multicoloured prints. Cause,
are you barred from Screen Print World now? Is there a restraining order?
Yeah. And, he took it in board. He took it well.
Yeah, so. Yeah, they do. They're good guys, really. You know, nobody's in this industry, really.
No, I've never had any bother with anyone, really, to be honest.
No.
Apart from one who got
Apart from the one we can never find.
Yeah.
Apart from the one we can never find because we don't know whether he's detained or
on holiday
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
I'm not gonna mention him, but I'm sure he knows who he is.
It'd be a bit tight up. So, how about you? Have you had a highlight this week? Apart from Mifflin?
So we did the podcast midway through my adventure in America, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
So we pretty much covered everything there. However, by the end of the week, I was really, really pleased with how it went. This could have been an absolute.
It starts sinking a bit then.
Yeah, we come back to, and I'm sure if you go back through all our dogs whinging, if we go back through all,
I was about to say we locked it covered this time.
Really, just sat there crying at me. If we go back, there's a general theme, and the theme, other than tangents and and whatever, other than those things, it's the staff and the skill level, the squishy things. The most important part of our industry is the squishy things.
Yeah.
The people that stand there all day, pulling shirts, putting shirts on, tweaking presses. If we don't have those, we're screwed from the beginning. And this particular shop has 3 presses. 3 more get delivered next week. And the month after that, 3 more get delivered. So they'll be at 9 presses by, let's say, March. They have 2 staff. And it's just so difficult to get through that screen print is not press a button and out pops a T-shirt.
Yeah, no.
You've bought all the best equipment you can possibly buy, but we need to train the people. If we don't train the people, there's not much we can do to improve either the quality or the efficiency and this is a major sportswear manufacturer.
That's crazy, isn't it? That?
Major, with 3 stripes.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really. I was really impressed. By the end of the day, I got the 2 guys to be able to take artwork, make it on a screen using the Spider, develop it, find the recipe for the colours, mix the colours, set on press, using all the things that I taught them the week before, which was what happens when I change this blade, what happens when I change this mesh, what happens when I change this angle. Rather than leaving them a recipe of always set this on number 5 and I'll just fuck off and go back to England. No. Tell them why it's on number 5, what happens when it's on 3, what happens when it's on 10. And then hopefully they have the intelligence to be able to work out how to solve problems, because printing is just solving problems.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Putting out fires and solving problems all day.
It is problem solving, that's all it is.
If we looked at the rule book, I could probably, read the rule book to someone and 2 hours later, in theory, they should be able to print.
A bit
like me when I first started. And I thought I knew it all after 6 months.
Well, you did, didn't you, so? You're an anomaly.
Anomaly, yeah. So I was really pleased that they'd got that far, but I just know in the future, that guy that does that is going to have to teach the next guy. Now, it's human nature to keep a little back.
That's what it is, yeah.
It is, because you don't want to train this next guy to be better than you. Because at the end of the day, it's dog eat dog. When it comes to pay rise time, you want to be at top of the tree asking for more money because you can do more than anybody else. Now, if you teach everybody else, the natural law of selection means that everybody's going to get a pay rise before you.
Yeah.
So we keep a little back. Let's say we keep 20% back. So that means that guy is going to teach the next guy on press number 2 80% of what he knows. And then when it comes time for press 3, they're going to take the middle guy and get him to train the next guy. And he's going to keep a little bit back as well because he don't want to give all his skills away. So in what we normally get as staff changes over, in this particular instance, we're going to get as the factory grows. And it's really worrying that I spent a week educating and training these people, and pretty much it's going to be diluted to just a weak stream of piss, basically.
I mean, if they've got 2 people in to run down presses, I'm pretty sure they're obviously going to get staff in weeks. Yeah. In weeks. So it's almost like this time next week it'll already diluted.
Yeah. Yeah, because
crazy,
they're not doing it every day.
Yeah. So do you
it's a very strange one. So this company,
do you think they made an error in not getting you in after they've fully staffed up?
It's chicken and egg. There isn't a right answer to that question. So I said I need to get in and train these guys before they get into any bad habits. I need to. One of them had 0 experience, like was a welder. And the other one had been a printer somewhere else on an old Riley Hopkins battered old machine. They topped up with machine oil. So they had some bad habits already.
Yeah.
But as is usual with a place like that, when you're a machine operator, there's a massive difference between a machine operator and a printer. When I left my first job after being 4 years, being a dickhead, thinking I knew everything, I was really a good machine operator.
Yeah.
I want a good printer. I want a good machine operator. A good printer can take art, put it onto screen, make all the right selections and choices, and then actually produce the job.
Yeah.
Whereas in big places, what happens is somebody does the art, somebody does the screens, somebody mixes the colours, and you're standing outside of your press and you've got a set of screens here and a rack here for your dirty screens.
Yeah.
And all day you just take out the screens, put them in the press, set them up, press print. When they're done, take them out, put them in the dirty pile, get the clean ones, put them in, do the printing, put them in. And that's a really efficient use. It really is efficient. But from a skills level point of view, it means that you have machine operators.
Yeah.
Now, I'm all for machine operators if there's at least one printer knocking about.
Yeah, you almost need somebody there with all the knowledge, just overseeing.
No, I did have a guy at this place with 30 years' experience, But it's 30 years experience. All right, it's like you in 10 years' time, then you'll have 30 years experience. That's all right. You in 20 years' time.
Yeah.
Could say you've got 30 years experience on a manual carousel, but then if I throw you onto a machine, you'd be like, no, I can make this on a 43. For God's sake, dog, don't stop him. Stop it! Get off, bastard.
You bastard.
Can't even tell you what he's doing. He's gagging a teddy. Now, if you think that's bad, you see the fucking, you see the look he's giving you.
The look he's giving you. Fucking no. Hey, bleeding
Little
out.
bastard, I'm taking it off and he's brought it back. You little bastard, do it quietly.
We once had a dog and it had a little teddy sausage and it was fucking convinced it was its baby. Look at his face. Well, it's gone to right orifice at least.
Little bastard.
Well,
Right, where were we?
that was a tangent. Take a shot.
That was a definite tangent. So, the fact that the skill level is low. I can increase the skill level, but it has to be maintained. I think that pretty much sums it up quite well.
Yeah.
In that I can do it. Give up. But it's got to be maintained, otherwise it just disappears really quickly. And that sums up a lot of shops I go to, if I'm honest.
I mean, how do you almost put a failsafe in where they start venturing off the path, and then there's almost like a little something as a reminder to pull them back. You know what I mean? You almost need to have like a massive banner. You need to leave a banner behind with everybody with like rules.
And so stuff. Big places where I go, like where they're producing, like Under Armour and Nike, and Adidas and Reebok, they have SOPs. An SOP, standard operating procedure. Standard operating procedures are, like you say, the big banner that's behind everybody.
Yeah.
That basically gives a routine. So if you had to write, I think you probably did this at school, or something, go put the kettle on. And then document every process that you did to put the kettle on. When you give the task to someone else, they have a standard procedure to follow.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't build skill, but it's a good starting point. So when you said how do you bring it back? How do you make sure they don't wander off the path? It's standard operating procedures. They're boring to write, but once you do them, and they're usually unique to you as well. They're usually followed by pictures. The pictures are basically, go to the sink, picture the sink, grab the kettle by this handle, picture the handle, turn the tap this way. All those sort of almost foolproof ways to perform a task.
Yeah, but you have to do that because, like you just said, we're talking about having SOPs in place for machine operators.
Yeah.
Machine operators haven't got 20 years screen print experience.
No.
So they have to follow a step-by-step guide because they haven't got the ability to step away from that path and know what to do. Because that takes experience and you have to be a printer, not an operator.
I'm going to a place early next year, and I did a call with them yesterday to try and assess where they're at. So how much time they're going to need, basically. Do they need me for a day? Do they need me for a week? How bad is it? And they've got 6 pressers. And I was quite impressed when they said 6 pressers because I didn't know who they were to start with. And I thought, that's a lot of pressers for someone who's not popped up on my radar for
Where was this again? UK or abroad?
UK, yeah.
All right.
UK. Down in Shropshire. I don't know where that is.
But no, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's not in Yorkshire.
No, it's not, no. God's own. So I'm going through things. It turns out 3 of the presses are manuals. The other 3 are M&Rs with heads missing. So you start to get a feel for things. I said, okay, so what about your staff? What experienced staff have you got? Well, I've got a guy, we've been going 27 years, and there's a guy that's been with us for 22 of those 27 years, and he's our main printer.
Yeah.
Now, straight away, I know I'm going to have real trouble re-educating someone who's got as much experience as I have.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, as printers, we are a strange breed, other than all having beards and tattoos. Except
unless you can't grow the bugger.
Don't grows in shade, so I'm screwed.
My fucking falls off every time I walk to work in that breeze. No chance.
So,
That's what me for Carl. He can grow a good beard. He's a hell of a beard.
I know, yeah, every time you ring him, he's like, another beard. It's like Family Guy with birds.
ZZ Top turning up.
Yeah.
No, it's much more well kept than ZZ Top, but.
So, where were we?
I don't know. Oh, no. Get a shot, tangent. There you go. Standing up, teaching an old dog new tricks.
Old dog new tricks. For instance, if someone came to me and said, "Okay, Tony, you're doing all this wrong. You need to be doing it like this." As I know, as open as I am to new ideas, and I do learn stuff all the time. You know, even after 30 years, I see some stuff I'm like, didn't know about that.
Oh, of course, yeah. You never stop learning,
But if somebody came to me and said, "You've been doing it wrong all these years," my pride would kick in first. And go,
of course.
Who the fuck do you think you are? Come down here telling us what to do.
Yeah, that's human nature as well. Like, that's just like, you can't help.
It's printer nature as well. You know, we are a strange breed. We all think we know what we're doing.
And at the end of the day as well, results speak for itself as well. And if something you do works, in your head you're like, well, what do you mean I'm doing it wrong? It's working.
Well, what I have to do is in part of my job is to go and show people rather than tell people.
Yeah.
And prove that it works. And we'll throw right back to where I was last week. All the mesh counts were wrong. It's as simple as that. They got some bad advice. And the advice came from someone who was doing this work already. So therefore should be right.
Should know about
However, the bit that he missed out was he flashed every colour.
Right.
So therefore, when you flash every colour, you can afford to have these low mesh counts. Having low mesh counts and a flash every colour, I always say you can tell the skill level of the operator by the number of flashes they use.
That's putting a bandage over a lack of skill. That's what that is.
It is, yeah, definitely. It's putting a bucket under a leaking tap.
Yeah, that's a better analogy. That actually makes sense, that analogy.
I use that all the time. Because the bucket under the leaking tap, that might be another shot taker. That the bucket under the leaking tap is a solution. It works. No water on the floor.
Oh yeah, it'll work.
But now, twice a day, somebody's got to empty the bucket. So it does work. It is a solution. But a better, more efficient solution would be to fix the tap.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the whole thing. The guy that's been doing it 20 odd years is doing a good job. Otherwise, he wouldn't still be there. So he's getting by and he's doing a good job. But it just might be that he's working twice as hard as everybody else. Because 20 years ago, we did things differently to what we do now. Thin thread didn't exist. High mesh counts weren't used. Some of the base white inks weren't even formulated, let alone used. So all these things we have to embrace and get hold of to be able to increase our own skill level, number one, and produce better prints easier.
That bloke could very well just be a carbon copy of me. I started in this industry with zero experience, under the pressure of I had to make it work, and I learned as I went along. But there were nowhere that said, well, you have to do it this way, this way, this way. I learned by mistakes, and eventually I picked up on what works and what doesn't work. And like we said
it works for
a few episodes ago, the foundations, I did it in wrong order. I got it all wrong, and eventually I came to, hang on, this is the foundation, and then build off of that. And now I'm building off of that. But I think in an environment where you work for an employee, you're part of a company, I can see how you can easily just, right, this works, right, I'll just keep doing that forever. Whereas for me, I've always had an openness to learn, and I've always had a eagerness to make what I see on that palette at the end of a print run look better, which leads me to go into research and to ask questions and to think, well, if I do this slightly different. And I think that attitude, rather than me being an old dog stuck in new tricks. I know dog stuck in new tricks. Stuck in my old ways or whatever. I don't think a dog even need to come in that situation.
Just have a look on the floor. There's some bits of a metaphor you've left out somewhere.
I think I've got about 7 put together. But rather than me, printing a job 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago and being, well, that worked, just do that for the rest of the time. I think I've got some, I've benefited from having that openness and striving to learn and improve.
You'd be surprised how many shops I go into with, say, like the M&R Autos have a feature where the travel, which is the distance the squeegee moves, has a tendency to vibrate and lift on all presses because there's so much vibration and the travel just can vibrate a little bit. So there are
very aggressive, aren't they, when they move? It's like...
They can be aggressive or not. So there's a couple of solutions to that problem, and one of the solutions on the M&R, and I think the Anatole as well, is to put a little Allen key in there and turn the Allen key so it locks, so it doesn't vibrate. The MHM uses a spring, so the spring's constantly under tension, so the vibration doesn't come up. So what the misunderstanding is from the old printers. Right, I've set the travel, I've locked it, I've hidden the Allen key, don't fucking touch it. Right. I know that works. Now, as it turns out, you're bending the squeegee in half, so you're guaranteed to print T-shirts and fleece with exactly the same amount of pressure, which is fucking shitloads. Yeah. The M&R, by far, is the strongest machine out there. It can bend a squeegee in double, but then you lack any finesse. Yeah. So the misconception is, right, okay, well, that's there to lock that off. So then when you start to train a new guy, it's like, okay, how do I make it more ink? We use the pressure valve at the front. You don't need to change the travel. Ever? Right. No, ever. Not even if I put more angle on and reduce the distance away from the squeegee? No, don't touch that either. That's locked. So the tendency to not change, don't fix what's not broken, as a sort of advice to new printers, which sucks, but it does happen. I once went to a place down in North London. This was before I was doing this job as a consultant, and I walked in, and they were doing some sleeve prints, big, long, death metal. Yeah, that type. And it was a brown gothic. It'll have been Sarah. So it was really sort of crappy writing, and I looked at the print and I looked at what was coming off, and there was this really bright, shiny brown colour, and there was no base underneath it.
Oh God! Print flash print.
There's no one screen. So how the hell are they getting a beautifully bright print with one screen? So I looked at the way it was printing, and basically the squeegee was bent in half.
It's buttering it on.
They were using it like butter. They were actually bending the squeegee in half over each side of the sleeve board as well. So it was leaving such a thick deposit of ink. Now, the two schools of thought are, who's right and who's wrong? Because at the end of the dryer, they looked fine.
When you're having to push the parameters to an excessive level, something's wrong, because you're in danger of popping a screen, you're in danger of breaking. I can assume, I haven't got an auto, but I can assume surely that can't be good for the machine.
It wasn't good for the machine. It wasn't good for the
screen. Your screens are going to last one print.
Yeah,
and even the emulsion, having that excessive bend over the edge of a palette, it's going to wear away.
Tape. Just put tape on it. So here's the leaking tap scenario again. I've got a problem in that my screens will wear out if I do this. Okay, so I'll just put some tape on them.
Yeah, but then you start I suppose if you're not print flash printing, but yeah, no, it's like you say, you're putting a bandage over something that's just not right. Go back to the foundations, think it through, problem solve. What's the word? Go back and I don't know, just analyse what you need to change. Don't look at me. I'm trying to
assess the situation. Is that where you were going?
Something like that.
Yeah. So, but my argument is, okay, so I go in and tell these guys you're doing that wrong, and I say, okay, show us how to do it right. We need to make a base screen. Whoa! We're not making 2 screens. Why? It's too expensive. It takes so much time. this works. But it's wrong. Yeah, but it works. You wear your screens out, we put tape on. You wear your squeegees out, I've got new squeegees.
Yeah, but then the only...
Where to go with it now?
Well, you've got somewhere to go with it. And the argument is you're not getting the best print results. Nobody can tell me on this planet that brown, shiny sleeve that you've just told me about is the optimal, even close to a good print. That's a bad print. At the end of the day, that's a bad print. And if I saw that in the shop...
would know. Only another printer would know. It's the reason we don't buy printed material in shops, by the way. But
well, we say that. We know how that's been done, and we know that it's been done wrong. But first impressions, and even if it's subconscious, if you put a properly printed brown sleeve with a white underbase, proper mesh selection, a nice sharp blade, not tons of pressure, and then you go put a shiny fucking buttered on print flash, print. Like, surely consumers must see the difference. And surely when that first, even if they don't see option correct, they must look at it and go, God, it's a bit heavy and it's a bit shiny, isn't it?
What if the customer wants a shiny print?
Well, it is a thing. I have been specifically asked to use thick, heavy plastisol on more than one occasion. Even though it goes against my nature to do it.
It does happen. The customer likes that look. The customer likes that feel.
Yeah.
And they don't want crisp, shiny prints. They want heavy, smudging, splodgy, shiny prints.
Not quite in that direction, but we mentioned many episodes ago, back in the day when I was a lad, that you think the best print finish you've ever seen was discharge. You said to me, I'm sure you did.
Yeah, it's the best print ever. Yeah, and it's just the hardest one to do.
I would argue, just on a, and I'm sure this comes down to just personal opinion. I think a combination of Aquaflex and Plastisol is the best print finish, and I honestly, and I genuinely mean this. I think it looks better than Aquaflex. In my honest opinion. And that's just a personal taste, because and my point here is, I don't necessarily dislike a little bit of shine, but just that little bit I just like Plastisol colours. They're super opaque, they're super bright, and you can dull the shine. I don't like too much shine, and I don't like a thick print, but I really do like that Plastisol finish on top of a Aquaflex base.
Yeah, because you changed the Plastisol, though, don't you? So we
so
could say you don't actually print with Plastisol. You print with Plastisol. Yeah.
It's definitely.
You don't print straight out the tub, and a lot of what I do is advising people to always print straight out the tub, because if the ink companies could put something in it to make it, they would put something in it.
You would think so. That actually brings us on to what I'm printing right now.
Have we got a script?
I haven't got a script. I didn't look at anything then.
What are you printing right now, Danny? This is a new feature. What's on the press today, Danny?
Well, there's no one right now, but what will be going on, I've actually got 10 jobs in the pipeline. Actually, I've done 5, so 5 to go. And I've been very specifically asked for a vintage faded look.
Okay.
And I'm using fuckloads of reducer, basically, to achieve
That's it. That's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm treating reducer as if it's in Aquaflex terms, Aquaflex neutral.
Yeah, that's exactly how you should do it.
And I've had pots of ink so black, I've not gone too crazy with black. Black's got 20% reducer in it. We had a red, and I actually had to go 40% red, 40% reducer,
base. All right,
or clear base, and 10% white to get the look that they wanted.
The curable reducer you're using, is it milky? Like
yeah. It's not the liquid oil.
It's not the oily stuff. It's elephant jizz. Yeah,
it's jizz. Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually curable.
So that's dead right. I did it out in America. Same thing. I did it on the base. They wanted
I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
So instead of
Opaque white.
Instead of making the other colours dull, I made the base dull. I also printed it through a 120. Really thin through a 120. And what this gave me was it still allowed the tones of the design to come through.
Yeah.
But when they did come through, then they were only as bright as the top colour ink, which when it fell onto this dull ink looked like vintage.
Yeah.
It worked really well.
Yeah, it does work in a treat.
I like it. I like it. I use it all the time. That and actually printing clear base. Have you printed clear base?
In the I once picked up a palette of ink that somebody would try to get rid of. And it was just a case of gives £100 and you can have this palette of ink. I don't know what's on it. And I just thought, fuck it, I'll take a gamble. If there was some clear base in it. So yeah, I've had a play with clear base. And
so tone on tone. So to do tone on tone, we print just straightforward what you would call Aquaflex neutral. But
why didn't I think of that?
In plastisol form. So instead of trying to colour match the colour of the shirt and make it a shade darker or sometimes a shade lighter, what we would do is just print soft hand base. So soft hand base, finesse base, fashion base, I think. All these bases are just basically what the ink's made of. The ink's made of pigment concentrate and clear carrier base. Right. If we just print the clear carrier base, then we get a wet or darker impression on the shirt. It doesn't work so well on dark shirts, but on heather grey, awesome, because you can still see the fleck through it.
Yeah, you see, I would, one of the jobs was a red shirt with almost a tonal effect, and I tried 50% reducer, 50% white, and it was going pink.
Yeah,
there was too much white in there. Yeah. So this is where I ended up with the formula of 40 red, 40 clear, and just 10% white, just to add a little bit of body to it.
So the body comes from the carrier, so the finesse. What ink company do you use?
CCI. Sorry, no, I'm like it. International Coatings. I'm getting mixed up. International Coatings was what
I think this is called soft hand base.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So soft hand base and curable reducer to whatever ratio you want, because soft hand base on its own can be a bit shiny.
Yeah.
So soft hand base and clear reducer, basically instead of putting your red in, you would have put soft hand base and clear and reducer and no white.
That would
be giving you your body.
Yeah. I mean, I've ticked the box of exactly what he's after, because it's been one of those customers where nobody ever asked me this, but he's saying, can I have a photo of each design so that we can approve it?
It's standard practice, but if they don't approve it inside the first 10 minutes, you're like, hang on.
Well,
I could have printed them by now.
Do you remember when we were about to start the episode yesterday, but we had connection troubles? I was going to start the episode in a bad mood because I'd sent an email, and 3 hours later I was still waiting for a reply, and my press was being held hostage. And that is why I don't offer it as a service. Yeah. And they really have insisted on it. And actually,
if they insist on it, you have to push back and say, okay, absolute tops 30-minute reply. If I don't get a reply in 30 minutes, it comes off the press, you lose your slot. It might be another week before you get it back.
Yeah, well...
Cross some bollocks.
It just costs too much, doesn't it? I don't think people understand. That's holding up other jobs, people's jobs. You cannot push people's jobs back because you wait for somebody to say, yeah, that looks good.
No, you can't.
So, yeah, that's what I'm printing right now. What are you printing right now? Do you not ever think to yourself, right, why don't I stick a little press in garage? Just have a little play every now and again. Print off some tape back shirts. Put them on eBay.
Some Teletubbies, yeah. This has been going around my head lately. You remember, not long back, I had a quiet month where the guy cancelled and I didn't push any work. And I've not really got any more work now until January. I've got little bits and pieces I can do, but I'm buying some time at home for a change.
You'll be bored.
And I thought to myself that I know, yeah, I already am. The dog's got on my nerves already. And I thought to myself, you know what? If I had access to a press, I could print to keep up my skill level, earn some money, because printing.
Oh, you've gone.
No, I am. I'm just taking prints.
I missed all that conversation. I get in here. Fucking ventriloquist comes out. Hey. Fucking serves you right, that does. Jesus.
So I do often think it'd be worth having access to a press and doing a bit of print. One, to keep my hand in. Two, but it opens up. Sorry. If I said I was printing, right? So if I got a job the other day. I think I showed you it. If you knew anybody would do it.
Oh yeah.
So if I said I was printing, all I'd get would be them. I'd get all the fucking nightmare jobs.
Hard as fuck job.
Every single nightmare job. And if it wasn't perfect, what's the easiest thing to do? Criticise somebody's print.
Yeah.
So I'd probably have a target on my back now if I started to do printing. Yeah. So I think it might be negative, but I do enjoy it. And I sometimes want to keep my hand in. And, you know, it's good to do it. And let's face it, it earns good money.
Yeah. Does it?
Okay. You do 100 shirts in a day. I can do that every hour.
I know, yeah.
So think about that. I do 8. Whatever you earn in a day, I can earn 8 times that in one day.
I know. This is why I'll never make money until I get an auto.
That's why you need an auto from one of our sponsors, doesn't it? So, judging on everything you've heard, Danny, what sort of auto would you like? What brand would you go for first? This is your chance.
There's a clue there. I don't know, but I really like the colour grey and white.
Well, that's screwed it. What's grey and white?
MHM's a grey and white, aren't they?
Grey and blue, but close enough, yeah.
It's a faded blue, isn't it?
You can't have one of them now.
Do you know what? I've always said this. I mean, well, not always said this. I know realistically in my head, at the end of the day, unless somebody comes up to me at Christmas
and gives you one for free,
which I'm obviously joking. That's not going to happen.
Asking you shall receive. You never know. I know people who have asked for a press for free to publicise on social media. You've got a huge following on social media, and if you had a brand of press to work on that somebody said to you, look, okay, you can have it for 6 months, and then after 6 months, if you've earned enough money, you can start paying for it. Then, you know, that might be something that appealed to you, and you could use your social media presence to actually create demand for new presses, which would pay for your press. This happens all the time. This sort of thing does happen.
If somebody approached me with that scenario, they would get 150% social media attention and improvement.
Stop.
What am I doing now? What's it shagging this time?
Fucking postman's been.
Right, postman?
Yeah. It's not shagging postman, but he's stealing letters.
It's usually people's missuses that are shagging postmans, not dogs. Oh, was that the milkman?
Yeah. He only knocks twice. Social media exposure. 150% social media exposure is where you are.
Yeah, if that scenario was to manifest, my social media would get a hell of a lot more attention and care. Because right now it's an afterthought, and I barely even post nowadays. But I'm all right at it, you know. I'm not too bad. I just have, I budget my time, and that's an afterthought. It gets very little attention. Anyway, my point is, if that was to manifest, that'd be fantastic. But if not, I will be buying one, and it'll be on the used market. And at the end of the day, an auto, as long as it's, you know, from a reasonable brand and a reasonable age and a reasonable, it's not been ragged to fuck, will change my life.
Yeah, it will.
No matter the colour.
It'll make it a lot harder.
Unless it's red. They can always paint it for me, though. My life will change. And
that's 2 off the list.
I just complimented both of them, technically. it was a backhanded compliment, but... Yeah, I'm very liberal. I like all colours of
the rainbow.
presses.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it does happen. People do make these deals behind the scenes where they get, you know, not a free press, but a press with limits on it as to, okay, if you can use your exposure to sell us 10 presses, then we'll give you this one for free, or you can pay for it in 6 months, or you can swap it out. I think it would greatly benefit you, but you would have to start again. I keep saying this, you know.
Oh yeah, about 10 years.
You understand the basics and the principles behind it, but you would also have to start again in how to use a different tool.
Yeah, but if there's anything I've proved to myself, and I don't think anybody would argue, there'll be nothing that stops me working that out. I'll just keep going and going and going and going and going until I do, and I'll crack it. And I think the foundation of what I'm doing on that press, when I get to the auto level, I think that'll stand me in such a good level, because like with the fundamentals of screen printing,
yeah, they are there. Yeah,
they're there, and
you've got access to a really good consultant anyway, so you'll be all right.
Well, exactly. Well, I might help, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you do all right. So, and apart from owning a press and printing myself, I keep playing with the idea of an academy or a school or a centre for learning.
That is an interesting idea. I think that's. Do you see? Are you properly thinking about this, or was that just an idea?
It's been there in the back of my head for about 5 years. There's a lot more work in it than you think. Certainly with certification and accreditation. But I think it's something that is required in our industry. There isn't anywhere you can send someone. You can't send someone somewhere to say, right, okay, do a week intensive training here. If you were to arrive at a Rolls-Royce factory, you know, you would get at least a week's induction into how everything works, and then if you were sat on a folding press that made parts for whatever it is, they send you to the manufacturer and say, right, okay, the manufacturer's going to teach you how to use this. Then when you come back, you'll be accredited to use it.
Yeah.
Now your skill is down to you, but you've had that base level of how to do this.
Yeah.
Now this is basically what I do already, but I do it at customers. Yeah,
you go to people to teach them.
So my argument is, would people send their workers away for a week? Because if the current way where I go to someone and teach them, we still do production. We can still do production.
Still making money essentially. Yeah.
Even the shitty stuff, we can save that for when Tony's here. They all do. But if we have to stop production and send my top 3 guys away, it's like the forklift training. You know, work in a warehouse, you have to do forklift training. So you have to go away and do 3 days forklift training and fire safety training. In those 3 days, you're not getting any production out back in the warehouse.
Yeah.
So they come and do the training in the warehouse, and they set fire to something in the car park, and then they go away. So it's that sort of that balance. And although I like the idea of an academy, and I like the idea of a standardisation, I think our industry is still very time and money driven, and I can't afford to. It's
interesting the perspective you come from, because you come from the perspective of employers sending their employees to be trained, and it's almost from the perspective of companies that exist or companies who have enough money to. But from my perspective, it's funny because I've got a concern. My concern is if there was a screen printing accreditation where almost like a plumber, to be taken serious as a plumber, you have to be credited by, I don't know what they call it.
You have to have the certification.
Whatever. And you have to have it on your van, and you have to have passed that test.
Yeah.
Now, if that was around in the days, maybe I wouldn't even be here. Maybe I wouldn't be here talking about screen printing. And maybe a lot of shops...
So you see it as a barrier. Oh, right. So you see it as a barrier.
I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying that's the question. Because like, if I'd have had to have been accredited, I wouldn't have spent 5 years fucking up. Maybe I've just not got into industry, because I should have started knowing, but I almost had to go through the process of being a fuck up, to be honest, for 5 years, probably. And that's how I learned. But if it was a case of I had to go to a school for a few weeks and pay a few grand, I couldn't have got onto that. I couldn't have got onto that ladder because I started with probably 50 quid at most. I probably had 50 quid in my pocket, and I thought, right, well, I'll just keep chipping away until I can get an heat press. And then, you know, whereas if I've had to pay 2 or 3 grand to go to school for a month or a week, I wouldn't have done it.
No, I know what you mean. I've got several examples of that, which is years ago. You had a large format printer, Roland, or a Mamaki, whatever it was.
It was Mamaki, yeah.
Mamaki. So I had one, and we were doing stickers, we were doing cars, we were doing vans, and somebody came along and said, "Can you wrap a car?" And now I've been doing this for a while. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got YouTube. I've got everything I could possibly need. So I wrapped a car, and I did it.
I did the same thing.
Was it my best work? No. But it looked okay. It looked good.
Got away with it.
And then Roland said, "Well, look, if you want to do this, we do a 3-day course down in Wolver, wherever they are, and you can come and do the 3-day course on how to wrap a van." And I went and did the course on how to wrap a van. At the end of the 3 days, I still couldn't wrap a van.
No.
But I knew how to.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So I think something like that is a good idea, but I also know that you can start screen printing for 250 quid in your mum's back bedroom. So why the hell would you spend any money on improving what you think you were already good at? That this is the issue. Screen printers, we think we already know what we're doing.
I think it's something. I think that would be an issue. I think that would be something you would have to overcome in terms of marketing strategy, and making people aware that, look, this is an investment to come to my school, but it's going to reward you. And if it became a certification, people wouldn't have a choice. But I guess certifications come from probably someone like yourself who sets up a school, and eventually it becomes recognised as the pinnacle.
I'm working on it now. I'm working on certifications now. So MHM are getting behind me in issuing certificates on how to operate the machines and how to do basic printing on 3 levels, from basic, intermediate, and experienced. And I think that might just be the start of what we're talking about here, hopefully.
Yeah.
If people get behind it, because a lot of the large major retailers, they love an accreditation.
Yeah.
They love to know that you've been trained in fire safety. They love to know that you know how to do CPR. They love to know that you know how to separate your waste properly.
Love a certificate.
And you've got a little certificate on the wall to say so. You know, little Johnny is really good at putting the green bits in the green bin. So it might be something that I move into going forward, I think.
I think your scenario, the scenario that you presented, I think you'll have no problem whatsoever. I think convincing me 10 years ago, that's the hard thing.
Yeah,
until it becomes a point of like...
There's a lot of users around as well. There's a lot of users around.
Oh, there is. Here's a question for you. How many of the employers from your scenario started where I am? Started
all of
in the
them.
bedroom. That's how the screen print industry has been built, is it not?
All of them. Doing some shirts on the side for you, mate.
Yeah.
Because he tried to get some printed. There was a 6-week delay. There were 20 quid each. And you watched a YouTube video by Catspit or Ryan, and you went, I can do that.
Yeah.
In my mum's back bedroom.
Yeah.
And off you go, and you do it.
And some of them blossom, and some of them
still printing in the mum's back bedroom.
Paint logos on the walls for some reason. And do chuffing podcasts.
Chuffing podcast. A chuffing podcast. Not wrong with a chuffing podcast.
There's not.
No.
Oh, that's a great idea. But I just think...
What just died?
What just died?
Yeah.
Our careers.
I've been dead a while. My earphones just died.
Are your earphones gone?
Yeah. But
you can hear me still?
Yeah, I can still hear you. I just put one in. It's dying. It's on its way out, that's all.
So can I run a scenario by you?
Go for it.
Right, let me try and tell you in story mode. Let me try and act it out. Can you do like a ringing? Ring my phone. Now then, it's our Daniel. What's up, we love? No, let me start that again. That was rubbish. That's terrible. I'm trying to be arching. Awful. Try that again. Ring, ring. Hello, Flipper Sweet Print Co. Oh, hey up. Yeah, you've got your hoodies. And know what? The blue. There should have been burgundy, but you're telling me the blue, right? Well, look, I'm really sorry. Obviously, we'll reprint them. We've dropped a right bollock here. Let me reprint them for you. Can you make sure you send me one of the wrong ones back? So when I do mix the colour again, I can reference it and make sure we get it right. All right. Oh, good acting that, wasn't it? Hoodie turns up. Hoodie turns up.
Yeah, it's burgundy.
Fucking burgundy. Not only is it burgundy. Now, that was an extreme... She actually told me Pantones. And what she said to us... So I've got a new Pantone book just to be double sure. So what she said is, they've turned up... It's supposed to be burgundy. She said, oh, the pink. Are you sure? She says, it's supposed to be 208, but it's either 207 or 206.
Oh, for fuck's sake. One out.
Instantly, I'm like, all right. It's got here, and I've put the Pantone book up to it, and I'm really, really, really trying hard to see a different colour other than 208. I'm trying not to take this as if I've been ripped off or somebody's just been really picky or whatever. I'm trying to see it from her point of view.
Yeah.
I can't. Now, I've got to go on phone to her today and say, I know you've... bear in mind, I've agreed to reprint these and covered the cost. So it's cost me money now. The job's pointless, so it's cost me money. And I've
send them all back.
I've took it on her word, thinking, I've given it benefit of doubt. I thought, well, all right, maybe when we've mixed the ink, we've just not added enough black in or whatever.
To err is human, to forgive is divine.
And it's turned up, and I swear to God, it's the same colour. So...
Get her to send them all back.
Well, yeah, that was my first mistake, and that is usually my port of call.
And then send them all back again, exactly the same, don't do anything with them, and she'll go, oh, yeah, they're great.
Well, I did think that. I thought about taking a picture and saying, how's this? And taking a picture of the same one. But what do you do? But I'm going to go on phone today, and I'm going to say, look, I'm really sorry, but maybe your Pantone book's out of date. Well, it is, because I asked her. A Pantone book's from 2015. So my only...
Okay, only 1 year.
Only
last a year.
Well, yeah.
Look on the back.
12 to 18
Look on the
months,
back.
it says.
Look on the back. Because of light fastness,
Well,
they
this is what I'm
fade and
thinking.
change colour after a year. So if she's using an out-of-date Pantone book, then you're in the right. If you've got a good Pantone book, then I think that should get out.
Well,
you're using an out-of-date Pantone book.
But I know what's going to happen. It's going to kick off. But
we used to have Pantone chips, and you could buy the chips and post them off.
Yeah.
So you could tear a bit off of the chip and put that in the post and say, look, this is the most up-to-date Pantone chip of 208. Hold it against the shirts that you've got there, and if you still think there's something wrong, I'll reprint them, but we think it's right.
I mean, if I look at it, at an absolute stretch, there could be 0.001 gram of black to add to it. But that's me really trying hard to see someone else's point of view.
So if you think it looks like 207, then
the word she said is it's pink, not burgundy. I took a picture and sent it to Sarah last night, and she were like, "That's burgundy."
Yeah.
But even if it was 207 and not 208, is there a room? Is there a tolerance? Is there as an industry? Is there a tolerance either way that we can allow for? Because colour matching,
no, not between colours like that, because then there'd be no point having the Pantone book. You know how the Pantone book's built in sevens.
Yeah.
You know why it's built in sevens with the middle colour.
No.
So if you have your Pantone book out now, pick a middle colour.
Right, 206.
So you've got 7 on the page, yeah.
Yeah.
So that middle colour is the true colour.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then as you go up, you add white,
lighter.
And as you go down, you go add black.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So that's why you will often get 2 colours that are close together that are only 7 numbers apart,
right?
Because they're on a separate page.
That makes sense.
So there's a lot of work. Those Pantone books used to get printed in Osset near Wakefield.
Really?
Yeah. There's a guy. The company's not there anymore. RGS, I think it was called, and they got the contract to print the Pantone books. Now, they would take between 6 and 8 months of testing and formulating to get these colours right.
Yeah.
And so when someone puts that much time into making sure that these colours are that accurate, then yeah, it does matter.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to your customer. If your customer is a coffee shop that has 20 shirts, then their perception is, I ordered burgundy and I got pink. Then that's a different matter altogether. If your customer is a corporate guy who has a corporate guide and you've used 207 instead of 208, he's going to come back at you because he spent ages saying to the graphic designer, I don't want 207, I want 208 because it's warmer and summerier and it's got more zip and pizzazz in it.
How about 15? 15 hoodies that, and here's another, oh God, I keep learning lessons, you know, Tony, I keep learning lessons. The garments were supplied. So not only that, I've also
Did I laugh out loud then?
Yeah, you did a bit, yeah. Wow.
So you got to pay for her garments as well?
Yeah. Yeah. And
lift your hat up. Just lift your hat up there. Just lift your hat up. I want to see if it says twat
it
there.
fucking
it does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Yeah. So
mug.
There's a solution to that. As of next year, we won't be taking on. I mean, to be fair, my pricing structure has changed, and basically we're marking garments up. So I won't be taking on supply garments as of next year. And she's actually one of the last few who still does. And this has sort of pushed me over that line. And also, my price is going to go up because now I've got to colour match to absolute accuracy, Pantone reference, every job now. Because if somebody's going to be that meticulous and picky, well, it's going to have a knock-on effect. Everybody's got to suffer now because I won't chance it. I'll be getting expensive scales. I've got brand new yearly Pantone books. I'm half tempted to get one of those little cards and then use the app where you scan it. You know what I mean? Just as an extra proof.
I've got it on my phone.
Yeah. Pantone Connect or something or whatever.
Pantone Studio, yeah.
There'll be no room forever. But all my customers, you're all paying for it because of her. But anyway, that sounds bitter.
Back in the early days, when I were a lad, then we used to print for major high street stuff and big firms, and we were a huge customer of Sericol Inks at the time. And we ran their mixing system, and at 5 or 6 presses, it was worth them being really nice to us. So they gave us a spectrophotometer.
Oh, wow.
So this is a machine that matches colour.
Wow.
So we would do the recipe, we would mix it, and then we would print a little bit, put it onto a white tile, we'd scan the white tile, and then we'd scan the colour, and then we'd get a graph on the screen of exactly what it should be. So we had a tile of the Pantone.
Wow.
And then that would give us a graph of accuracy of how close we were to the light spectrum of the colour we mixed.
Wow.
And we'd do that as a sort of a matter of course. We thought it was like cutting edge. And I honestly thought that these machines would take over the world. Never seen one since. This is 1991, maybe 92. And I've never seen one since. I know they got smaller because this thing were a huge like box that sat under the table in the ink room. It was great when we showed people around because customers went, "Oh wow, look at that! It reads the colours."
Yeah.
And the computer that it had, all built in with the software, also had golf, and all we ever did was play golf on the computer.
That's so a bit random. Why would they do that? We've got to get more value out of it, I guess.
Yeah, let's go back to Jam Factory days when we were on night shift and we just used to play golf in his break. In his break, obviously.
Yeah. My dad told me a story once. Back when he was a lad, he used to work at a glass bottle factory, and they had a pub in the factory, and they said, I'm pretty sure it was something like, you were allowed 3 pints on your dinner break back in them days. How crazy.
Yeah, I were allowed one.
That's crackers, isn't it?
When you asked me why did I leave my first job, It's because the pub were over the road and I'd had some Dutch courage. I had a couple of pints.
And you thought, fuck it. I'm feeling confident.
Yeah, I'll have another pint. Yeah, I'll have another pint now.
Times have changed. I'm a bit jealous.
Times have changed now. Listen, throughout my years, I've seen people turn up drunk. One guy went missing, went on a 2-hour dinner. And when he came, I tell this story sometimes. I'm sure there's no chance of him listening. And when he came back, it's a big factory floor, big old mill with a wooden floor, and he came in through double doors at one end. He's got a floppy hat on, Oasis style. He's got pink glasses on.
Oh my God.
And he's swaggering like that, walking down, swaggering.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to rip him a new arsehole. I'm like, where the fuck have you been? It's 2 hours. What do you think you've been doing? Yeah, man. Sorry, man. Yeah, I'll get back on the machine, man.
Yeah.
And just get back on that machine and make up for it, because I didn't want the machine to stop. I think I was covering for it.
Yeah.
So I throw him back on the machine, and I'm watching him, and he's still like this. He's like that. He's like that. He's got earphones in. No. Then people are coming over to me. Tony, need to sort Mark out. Why? He's off his tits.
Yeah.
What do you mean? This is the first ever experience I'd have of sort of drug use inside a factory.
Wow.
I went over to him. I went, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine, mate. Yeah, I'm fine. Look, take your glasses off." "No, mate, it's fine. You need to take your glasses off." "No, mate, leave me. I'm fine. I'm good. Just leave me. I'm good. Can't have you on the machine like this." "Why? What's up? Take your glasses off." His fucking eyes were like saucers like that. I'm like, "You're off your face." "Oh, man, don't send me home." I said, I've got to send you home. I'm going to fire you."
Yeah.
"Oh, don't. My dad will kick me out if I do it again." "Again?"
Again?
Well, that's when everybody told me. He's always off his face. And I'm like, was such a naive young lad I was, that I never even knew it existed. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know it were a thing. And he used to take his little green medicine in screen room every now and again.
Bloody hell.
Little green medicine, my methadone. I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't know. I was naive. Good screen maker, though.
Well, you just should have stuck him in Goblin Room, shouldn't you? Screen Goblin Room. Hey, crazy. Good God.
I had a guy that used to load on speed. Oh, my God.
Oh, that's what you need to wash
fast.
your screen room, to sort your screens out. Get someone on speed. Do you know, I washed 10 screens this morning. It took me, and when I say washed, I did the final step of stain remove. 10 screens. It took me an hour and a half. And
I wouldn't employ you.
I know. And I swear I'm getting half right.
What phone ringing a lot?
No,
What phone ringing a lot? Or what?
I don't know if it's just because I hate it that much. And I've just done it for that
That's
long.
10 minutes of screen.
Honestly. It took me ages. And my arms were killing me. My fingers are hurting. I'm like, I'm getting arthritis or something. I need to get someone in. Get him on speed. He'll have it done. He'd have the whole room done every day in like half an hour.
Just throw a 20 quid note out that window and on a string for all crackhead alley guys down there. Put it on a little bit of a nylon string and just keep pulling it in until you get one. It'd be like crackhead fishing.
Got this? Get that
Crackhead fishing. The new sport, crackhead fishing. Just pull one in and say, right, you can have this 20 quid when you've cleaned them 20 screens.
Oh my God. We're so PC, it's unreal.
If we're going to get cancelled, we might as well get cancelled.
We might as well get done something proper. Bloody hell. Well, that was my week in a nutshell, to be honest. I can't. You've had me positive and you've had me negative. Was there another negative?
Yeah.
No, not really. Oh, there was a negative. There was a big story. And now,
All right.
I'm overtaking this, aren't I? Would you like to chip in? Have you got any stories to tell me? You've been sat
I
at home,
don't know.
haven't you?
So it's all on you because I don't know. I've been sat at home with worst case doctors ever seen, a man flu.
It's horrible. Now, women, they like to piss out of us for that. Sarah will be sat going, all right, Tony. I've heard it all before. It genuinely is a thing. Men are affected by flu way worse. I don't care what anybody says. Because when I get man flu, that's it.
I'm going to agree with you off air, but on air, I'm going to say, what are you talking about, Danny? Women suffer much more than men do.
Wow. Let me just push that bus off me. Jesus. I think you know something, don't you?
Listen, we all know what happens. No, not now. Turn Wi-Fi router off. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, she's not chuffed with me, is she?
No, we all know who's in charge.
Right, I'm going to tell you a story. Can you remember what it was? Oh,
big one.
So this is the first time. I think I asked you a couple of episodes. Have you ever had to go back to a customer and say, I can't do it? And I did this week. First time ever.
As in technically or time-wise?
Technically.
Yes, and I've told you the story. I got replaced by DTF.
That was it. Ah, yeah, the sweatshirts.
Yeah,
So you went from T-shirts to sweatshirts, and then in the end it was
it
just
didn't
DTF.
work, and I had to say I can't do it. After maybe ruining 20 shirts and taking up an hour and a half, 2 hours of precious time for an event that was tomorrow, I had to step back, swallow my pride, and go, can't do it.
Well,
I can if I had this, and I can if I had this, and I can if I had this, and I can if I had this.
yeah.
But I actually can't do it.
Exactly. Very, very similar situation. We'd been sent some Christmas stockings made out of Hessian, like a light Hessian, and it wasn't typical Hessian. And the mistake I made was I asked them to send me a sample first. Let me check the material, make sure it's printable. And it's come, and I've looked at it, and I thought, under pressure, running around doing other jobs, I thought, yeah, it looks fine. I'm sure it'll be okay. Got them here, and what I didn't see is the tag. It said highly fucking flammable. So
You got a plastic coating inside.
whatever. Yeah. No, well, it wasn't even that. I think it was just a really thin. It must have been some sort of polyester or something. I don't know what it was, nylon or something. It looked like Hessian, but it can't have been.
Might have been jute.
Yeah, but whatever it was,
Or co-jute.
So-
There's a half cotton, half jute.
it could have been something like that. It was super thin. It was from Hobbycraft. And I got a box from Hobbycraft full of 100 of these stockings. And I was supposed to put a 3-colour print on for a really big customer as well. So this
With a base?
hurts. And my idea was to put a Aquaflex white base. And I only had to hit it once as well because it was already vibrant white. And then put my colours on top.
Yeah.
And then they were going through dryer. And they were coming out like fucking children's socks. Started that big and came out like that. So, similar situation to you. I thought, right, can I print transfers and heat press them on? Tried a sample transfer, a DTF, because I've recently had some in shop. Nah, didn't work. And I tried other situations where I thought, well, let's scrap the base and heat press them. Let's try to minimise the amount of heat. And it was for an event coming up. And in the end, anyway, I had to email this customer and say, look, I'm sorry, first time I've ever had to do this. I physically just can't do it. And I have tried lots of different techniques to make it work for you. And it's cost me money. It cost me money trying, but I want to get it done for you. And anyway, they took it all right. They weren't chuffed to bits, but it's just one of those things.
Back in day when I was a lad, then we used to use Monotex. Monotex was air drying water basting.
Right. Oh,
So
yeah.
for heat sensitive stuff, we would print it and just stack it or hang
One
it.
of those little racks or
you
something.
know those little spring
Yeah,
racks
yeah.
in one of them overnight. And you can achieve the same result now by putting Crosslinker 500 into Aquaflex.
Oh, well, that's annoying.
So you could have put Crosslinker 500 into Aquaflex. Now they recommend about 2%. So I would say, these stockings are likely to never go through a wash cycle. So therefore, all you really want them is to be cured. So the Crosslinker will advance this this curing stage, so it at least sticks to the Hessian. Won't withstand a wash, but you can dry them as low as like 120. And if you really go to town on the Crosslinker, which means you've got to throw the ink away afterwards, then you can get them to air dry.
I mean, I could have probably. I mean, again, thinking about it, I could have probably got away with flashing them because, like I say, they're not going for a wash.
No.
But here's the thing that gets me. Christmas stockings, highly flammable. Where do you put your Christmas stocking? I put fireplace. That's not that rings alarm bells, that, doesn't it?
We've still got a fireplace. We've got radiators now.
Well, that's true, I suppose. Nobody's got fireplaces. No, so that was my little...
It sucks when you have to do it, but you know what? Sometimes it's good to just just not be a yes man and not, have the strength to say no. I think it's good. It's something I suffer from. I don't say no. I've got, I've just quoted a guy to go over to France probably before Christmas and doing some training, and from the sound of it, he doesn't speak a fucking word of English, and my French was in 1982, the last time I learned French. So it should be fun. I really should have said, no, I can't do this because I don't understand enough French. But trying to please people, I'm like, yeah, okay, let's give it a go.
I was once accused of being a yes man a couple of times back in days, and I think it's something I've got better at saying no. And I think just every now and again, little things like this happen where it just reminds you, what, sometimes it's better to walk away and not risk it. And I like a challenge, and I like to learn new things. And in case of a high build, that's one of those risks, one of those gambles, one of those, maybe I shouldn't have been a yes man, but actually it paid back because I've learned some new skills. It cost me a fortune. Yeah. But really,
those will sit on that shelf for a long time.
No, I'm going to use them. I'm determined. Even if it's for my own stuff, I'm going to get some T-shirts out the door with flipping sweet and crazy colours and shit.
Okay, I've lost it completely. My AirPods have died.
Where's it gone? What have I told you about them AirPods? Fucking shit.
Well, I can lip read, so you're screwed there. Come back to me. Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Well, this is the most disjointed episode we've done. Dog shagging.
Oh, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. We've had worse episodes than this. I've fallen off chairs and insulted a whole area of America.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, this time, yeah.
You've isolated all women, so so far we're doing all right.
We've got to cover all bases. Annoy everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. If you weren't offended by this episode, tune in next week.
We'll have another crack at it. I try your best not to leave you out. Sorry. Oh dear. So I guess the plan for you now is to get back in bed with a nice hot lemsip, chill out for the rest of the week, not on the road anytime soon.
Not a lot I can do. I'm sort of like, I'm so glad that the timing has been good, because this brings up that demon that sits below that we don't sort of talk about, which is, on a sole operator business, what do you do if you're sick?
I know.
I've worked in industries where I used to blame the schools in the sort of like in the early 90s, where it was acceptable to ring school up before 9 o'clock and say, my mum says I don't have to come in today. And so I'd get staff just not turning up.
Yeah.
And then turning up the next day, bright as a button, and thinking that nothing was wrong. And I think I did 14 and a half years without a sick day. And it's in my mentality to not be sick. Basically, if you can function as a human being, go to work.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, barring legs and stuff being broken, I stuck scalpels in my hand. So I was cutting away the old thing.
I once did that,
Cutting away, and I stuck a scalpel right in the back of my hand there, and I cut the tendon. And I was like, shit, what am I going to do? I'm still going to go to work.
Start it, fucker.
You've got an 8-week sick note. How am I going to do an 8 week at home for nothing? I'm going to go into work and do artwork. I'll do the films. I'll draw the designs. So I'm of that mentality that you go to work anyway, no matter what. All right, you might be ill, as in don't feel 100%, but go to work, you'll feel better. And this week, I couldn't have done anything. I wasn't functioning as a human being. No. I told you the difference between cold and flu. Yeah. The 20 quid note.
Well, tell the listeners.
So my grandma once told me the main difference to know whether you've got cold or whether you've got flu is a £20 note.
Wow.
Drop the £20 note on the floor. If you've got cold, you'll bend down and pick it up. If you've got flu, you'll leave it.
That's true. I'll have to the first time I heard it.
I would have left the 20 quid note on the floor, and I would if I drop a £1 coin, I bend down and it hits me on the back of the head. I'm that fast.
If I drop a £1 coin under a moving bus, I'll be under that fucker. You watch.
I've thrown you under one already.
No, well done.
So it begs the question: what do you do if you're a sole operator and you're ill and you're sick? If I'd have had work booked this week, it's a bit two-edged here. part of me thinks I'd have muscled through it and gone to it, but I'd have probably made myself worse and failed by about Wednesday.
You've made yourself worse, definitely.
And as luck would, or otherwise, I would have had to ring up, and I'd have felt like such a failure, ringing a customer up saying I can't come. Why? I've got a bit of a snotty nose and a cough. It just doesn't. It doesn't ring true with me. That so you just feel a bit bad. Yeah. Well, still come to work. You might feel better.
Well, I think to be honest, people are dead. People are very paranoid about colds and stuff nowadays, aren't they? So you might not have got such a bad reception, but
yeah. So I mean, you're a sole operator. We touched on the mountain biking thing.
Yeah, I'd be fucked. Wouldn't I? If something happened to me, I'd be knackered. And drawing back on,
what do you do? I don't know. I haven't got a contingency plan. My business revolves around me. I haven't got someone I can call in to do the physical consulting. I have got a group of people who I have trained and are capable of passing on some of the knowledge I've given them. And I've often thought about maybe using that network to get bigger. But, they've all got good jobs. I'm not going to give up a good job just to go help a mate out. So, imagine walking into the office on Monday and saying, right, I'm not in this week. Why? Tony's got sniffles, so I'm going to go down over to France and talk to them froggies.
You can't really. It's just,
what would you do? You would pass work out? What would you do?
Well, I don't know, because the situations never happened. I remember a few years ago, could get a bit deep this now. So
we're like a bit deep Danny dive.
We go a bit deep sometimes, don't we?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, we do. You just sit there going, shut up, Danny.
No, keep going. I'll drag you back if it gets offensive.
It was in the middle of our lockdowns, actually. I had a car crash. And I was with a bird at the time. And I had this car crash, and I had...
A female? Oh, you've shocked me there.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Ooh. That was a bit close to censorship. There's nothing wrong with it, Tony. I know you're old-fashioned.
You go on. Stop. Go for it.
I'm trying to be fucking deep here.
I know, go for it.
So I'd had this car crash in a weird bird at the time, and it turned out I'd got post-concussion syndrome. So instead of having concussion that it's sort of short term, it was a very long drawn out concussion. Now I'm on another planet for like a year. I was a mess. I could barely. Really? I was writing, like making stupid spelling mistakes. I could barely talk. I mean, I can't talk now, but
so proper head injury.
Back then I was a mess. I remember sitting in living room with my bird and her two parents, and there were two conversations going on, and it was overload because my senses were like picking everything up, and I was like, oof. I started sweating, and I just walked out. It was so rude, but I was like, I couldn't cope. And anyway, this bird sacked me off on the back of this, and I was very. It took me a while to get over that. And what it was because I was in this state. I was a bit of a mess. I wasn't function. I was functioning at like 40%, but no matter what, I turned up to work every day, and I continued working. And even though I'm making myself feel worse, and there was no time to recover, jobs had to go out the door. But then jobs were going out the door wrong. There would be little mistakes and stuff, and I was getting worse. And all I did is I just made myself worse and worse and worse and worse. To the point, even this bird was like, "You're an idiot. I'm telling you to have a week off or have a day off or whatever, and you're not listening to me. I can't help you." And anyway, she walked away from me. So all of that work, and for a couple of years, I was a little bit bitter towards this business because in my head,
you think it cost you the bird?
It cost me the bird, and caused me so much stress and anxiety and I suppose physical trauma because it made it worse. The concussion, it was worse, way worse because of that. And I held, as much as I love this business, and I actually was a little bit bitter towards the business for a couple of years.
A couple of years? That's a long time.
Yeah, it took me a couple of years to get over it. And I didn't realise until afterwards when I spoke to someone about it, and he sort of put it out in front of me and then penny clicked. I was like, why am I acting this way? Why am I not progressing? It was because I was bitter towards what I was doing, and there was a lot of subconscious stuff going on. And I blamed. So
it became like a chore rather than an enjoyable task. It was a chore that you had to complete.
It became a chore, but not only that, it almost became I have got to prove this person wrong. I've got to prove this person wrong, that I will not work myself into an early grave. I will succeed and do all this stuff. And it became about that. Now, that is a motivation, but it's a negative motivation. Eventually, I got over that, and now my motivation is purely positive, and my business is progressing again. Things are getting better and things are going forward, because instead of coming from a negative place of I must prove somebody wrong, it's coming from a positive. Past it over.
You will succeed.
Yeah, and this is that's what I started with. That positivity. That's what I started with, and that's how I grew so fast, so quickly. In the beginning, and I found that again, but it took a couple of years. Anyway, so the point was, you will drag yourself to work, and you think, "Oh, I'm a bit crappy. I feel shit," and you put yourself through it, but it can have a detrimental effect. Sometimes you just got to say, put your hands up and say, "Right, I'm defeated. I'm off in bed for a week."
That's where I am now. I'm pretty much resigned to having a rest this week, and I've got some training I should be doing. I've got some invoicing and some paperwork, some articles for images I should be doing, and I have to just switch off. It's not for my mental health; it's physical health.
Of course,
it's just where I would. Plus, we get older, Danny. I'm not young anymore, so it takes longer to recover. It's like hangovers.
Yeah.
Used to be in the club at 2:00 in the morning, dancing away, and then back to work at 6 in the morning, and you were fresh as a daisy. Now, if I have 3 pints on a Friday, I can't face Monday.
I'm convinced every decade is an extra day of hangover. I'm in my 30s now, and hangovers are 3 days.
I think that's the formula, yeah. In my 50s, I'm screwed.
No.
I have to plan it really
You
carefully.
almost need a week off.
Yeah. Yeah.
God.
So it does raise a question as to what you're going to do as a backup plan if
I guess what you need
something
is,
happens.
you almost need, if you're an independent, you almost need outsourcing guys on a.
I think
Pilot
outsourcing
X.
for you is. I think outsourcing for you is a good idea. Because but then you have to. Either your seat's broken or you're trying to get autofocus to work.
Try not to be blurry. There we go.
Like the seat were broken.
Just blurry. I'm back.
So I think for you, outsourcing would work, but I know you. I've met people. Yeah, I've met people like you before, and if they outsource, they have a condition. The condition is don't post to my customer, post back to me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you would physically 100% check it.
Yeah, not even question. I don't even. Yeah, I'd be surprised if anybody doesn't do that. Surely.
Eventually, you'd get to trust the outsourcer, and then you would do that.
And it wouldn't even be even from a business perspective of, you want your customer to think you've done it, because otherwise, what's the point? They'll just go to the other person you've outsourced it to.
There's massive business out there for outsourcing.
Yeah,
you'd be surprised how many large print houses don't print in house.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
and they ship under plain cover, or they ship under somebody else. You post your flipping sweet labels out and say, right, where's they go out? Put my labels on. Well, and it's standard practice across the industry.
It's strange how this has come up. Me and Sarah were talking about this last night, and I almost think now that I've scaled back a little bit, I've gone backwards a little bit. I've got less help. I ain't got Jasmine here anymore. Jade's only coming in part time, so I'm having to take on more. I
can tell Jade's not there because I can't hear her.
Yeah, because you've got a word in. That's why.
So you're having to cut back more.
I'm having to take on so much more. It's almost me. I'm almost thinking, well, so as you know, I have Monday and I have my weeks planned out. And it's like this week, next week, a week after. Almost if you get to, let's say, that 3rd or 4th week, anything that fills them gaps, outsource. So I will do as much work as I physically can handle, and then when it gets to a stressy level, start outsourcing those. That's like something maybe in my head. That's an hard thing to do.
I used to have a very old factory floor manager who told me on planning production. So when you plan production, it's a milk bottle. I'm like, where the fuck are you going with this one? A milk bottle? So it's a milk bottle.
Yeah.
And every job is a piece of paper, a little slip of paper that you put inside the milk bottle. And when the milk bottle's full, the milk bottle's full. Doesn't matter what you do. how hard you work. Once that milk bottle's full, it's full. The only way you can do more work is to take one out.
Yeah.
So if you don't take one out, you can't put one in. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I always use that milk bottle analogy when trying to plan production is to, you know, when that milk bottle's full, we have to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
We either say no to the job or we pull something out and say no to another job or we outsource.
Because you see, what it is you think I need to make as much money and profit as I possibly can for myself to buy an auto, but maybe it'd be quicker to, when the milk bottle's full, outsource, because I'm still going to make money. I won't make as much money, but at the same time, I won't damage my reputation. And I won't stress
if you
myself
keep control
out.
of the quality.
Yeah.
There's a huge business in outsourcing. It's called trade only.
Yeah.
So there's a massive printer in Colville who is trade only. I have had printers come to ask me, Tony, I've got 50,000 of these high-vis vests to do for NHS. We've landed the contracts, but I just physically can't do it because our days are full of below 100 runs.
Yeah.
So the money I'd lose by not doing the below 100s for 4 weeks doesn't equate to the money I'd get for doing the 50,000 run.
Huh.
So one of my friends, I just sort of like, how long is it going to take to do these 50,000? He showed me a video of him doing them, 1,200 an hour he were doing.
Now,
Did him in a week.
An hour.
1,200, and he's my age, bless him.
Bloody
Shout out to
hell.
Steve.
Not on a manual then.
No,
That's still
no,
physically
no.
impressive because you're loading on and off all day on your feet.
Loading and taking off. Yeah, loading and taking off 1,200 an hour. That's as fast as the machine will go.
Yeah, that must be
And it
full.
was on little sleeve boards. It was only a little left breast print on high vis, so a really short strap, fast stroke.
Yeah.
That's one print coming off round about every 2.8 seconds.
That's unreal, isn't it? God.
Yeah, it's fast, isn't it?
What do you think to this as a business model? So let's just pretend you're in my shop. What if you just take on one customer a month that puts in a 50,000 order for Ibis vest like that, and you just spend that month doing that one customer, and then month after that you just do another one customer who's ordered 20,000 of something or other. If you could just get one customer to fill a month's worth of work, I mean, you're dealing with one person a month rather than 100 people a month. It'd be lovely, that, wouldn't it? It's an ideal scenario, but it's a fantasy land, isn't it?
It's fraught with danger.
All right.
It's fraught with danger for a couple of reasons. Number one is how everybody got started. We started printing for Rugby World Cup 1996. Fucking hell, old bastard.
Now.
1996 Rugby World Cup. The initial order was 75,000 white shirts with a 3-colour print on the front. So we thought, this is great, super. Bang that on there. Boom, 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 boom. Super. Customer gets the first order, goes, right, okay, we love them. We're going to increase another 50,000. Okay, so we get another 50,000. By the time we'd done with 250,000 of these white shirts, but because of the constant printing, at some point you need to get paid, otherwise you're too far into 250,000 blank shirts.
Yeah.
You need to keep control of that stock. You need to still keep servicing all your other customers. And what you thought was the dream job actually turned out to be the job that sent the company bankrupt.
Right. Yeah.
And it did send the company bankrupt, that one job.
Right.
In the end, they couldn't buy any white shirts from anywhere. They were buying white shirts really cheap and nasty from somewhere. The customers saw them, didn't like them, wanted reprinted. And all these things just keep coming and coming and coming. And what you thought was the dream job, all of a sudden, no. Plus, you're printing for around about, let's throw a number out there. Let's go 30p.
Oh, yeah, it can't be high at that quantity.
So you're doing about 3,000 pieces a day at 30p. So you've got a certain amount of money you can make. Now, you just take that machine time and divide it by the 100-piece job that's got the shirt cost built into it. You can charge a premium for because it's 100 shirts. You do 4 of those an hour. Now, all of a sudden, if you can fill that 8-hour slot, you're going to make double the money for half the work.
Yeah. I know what
So
you mean.
it makes much more sense. The other side is all your eggs in one basket. That guy could suddenly pick up, you could be one phone call away from disaster. You could buy the 50,000 shirts.
Yeah, that's so true.
Get ready to print, and the guy rings you up and says, oh, yeah, about those
Don't
50,000.
need 'em.
I've had a better offer. Can you do them for 25p? You look at your numbers and you go, well, I've got 50,000 shirts there. I've got to do something. And you say, all right, then just this once. Actually, there's another guy who's going to do them for 22p. Can you go down to 22? If you go down to 22, it's yours. and all of a sudden you're in a race to the bottom
Yeah.
on price, and you've been held to ransom. So for me, I'd much rather do the smaller runs of 100.
Yeah, that makes
all
sense.
for one customer. I can still have all one customer, but the problem with one customer is they end up having so much control.
Yeah.
If you spread the risk, I think if spreading the risk over lots and lots of customers is a much better business practice than having all your eggs in one basket.
I've never thought of it like that. I mean, there's been occasions over years where mega jobs like that have popped up, and I've never actually ended up getting them. But I can remember there was one for, I can't remember the quantity, but it was for Huey Fury, Tyson Fury's cousin, versus Joseph Parker, and they needed, I think it was like black and gold print on front and back, and it was a big quantity. And I think in the end it was like 30 grand profit, whatever it was massive for me at the time, huge. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, I'll just shut my books for a month and just crack them out, and I won't take any new orders on or anything like that. And they never got back to me. I think they wanted it in a shorter time space. And then there was one, and it was a Russian bank. I think it was like a Russian PayPal equivalent. They were like new on scene. I think they were starting up.
They want a Nigerian
They
prince.
were a Nigerian prince. It could have. It was a bit. I think it was genuine. Anyway, I didn't get that one either. And it was the same sort of scenario. I was like, fucking hell, I could make 50 grand here for a month's worth of work. I'll never do that. I could do, no matter what I do, I'll never make that in a month ever again.
Yeah.
And anyway, they all fell through. But maybe in hindsight, it was such a good job it did. Because, like you say, what if something had gone wrong?
Yeah,
I'd have been done.
There's so much risk involved. The sort of like the risk involved, the being held to ransom, and then you've got to face the facts that we used to do those in the 80s and 90s, and then we discovered cheap labour offshore.
Yeah.
Cheap labour offshore. I've told you the price that people were paying out in the Middle East, $250 a month. That works out around about £1 an hour.
Yeah.
So £1 an hour compared to the tenner an hour that we have to pay here.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how fast your machine goes, you've still got to man it with people, 3 people for 10 hours. At a tenner an hour, that's 300 quid. So no matter what, it's going to cost you that. Now, the guy that you're competing against only has to pay 30 quid for the same labour.
Crazy, isn't it?
So
You can't
there's
compete.
no way you're going to win that contract. And the only way you'll win that contract is based upon your delivery time or complexity of job, or you're going to do something stupid like fund the shirts.
Yeah.
And those jobs are few and far between. We still get them. I still get people wanting, asking me for, do you know anybody who can do this in short term? And I do know a few people that will turn it round as trade only and won't go after the end user, because this is what you've got to be careful of. If you know Tyson Fury and he's your best mate, and you go down to Scarborough Arms with him, and you go for a beer with him, and then he says to you, "Look, I've got 50,000 shirts. Will you print them for me?" Yeah, sure, no worries. And you give them to Alex at Super Screen, then and then Alex comes along and rings Tyson up and goes, "Hey, you know these shirts? Danny's printing for you. Yeah. You like them? Yeah, they're awesome. Well, I'm printing them for you. So tell you what,
Not 5p each.
I'll do them for you for 40p."
I know.
And there are people, especially around East Midlands where I work a lot, that will sell their brother out for 10 pence a print.
Oh, yeah.
They really
Chip
will.
the granny in. Yeah.
Yeah, chip the granny. Yeah. So I think it's a risk. I first started. This first became apparent to me early 2000s when my boss at the time said, "I want to do a white T-shirt with a one colour print on for £1." And I went, "You're crazy. Why would you want to do that?" So I can buy the shirt for 30p. So can you print it for the remaining 70p? And, well, can you print it and still leave me some profit?
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, yeah. But if I had 10,000 to do, now I'm going to do them in hundreds. Then I have to look at my processes in downtime and change time. So it's going to cost this much for the staff. Screen costs about £5. Ink costs are like less than 5p a print. So what we're left with is, how many can you do an hour? Well, I think I can do between 4 and 6 an hour. Right, okay. But you're not going to get 4 people wanting 100 shirts for £1.
No.
the problem comes when I've only got 2 of those jobs to do in that day, and the rest of the day is filled with normal work.
Yeah.
And he went out on a limb and bought 25,000 shirts, and before I knew it, I was so busy doing runs of 100, I didn't have time to do the runs for the other, the hairy ass builder down the road who wanted 20 work shirts.
Yeah.
So, and it worked really well, but it only worked because of the numbers.
Yeah.
So, spreading that risk over 50 jobs rather than having all that risk involved in one job who doesn't pay you. So if one of those guys doesn't pay you, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
You don't like it, but you accept it and it's okay. So, and the other thing is, we just don't get those jobs anymore because of the Far East competition.
Going abroad, yeah.
Well, what happens is where the shirts or the clothes are manufactured taught themselves how to print. So we manufacture here, we pay to ship them to here, we print them, and then we pay to ship them back to here so we can distribute them.
Yeah.
Well, we save all that shipping by printing where we make them. So what I found in the sort of like early 2000s, 2010s, where a lot of clothing manufacturers started to become printers.
Yeah.
And we get this, what they call a vertical shop, where everything is done in one place, so there's less travel.
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Cut out the middle.
Less carbon footprint. I'm going to say carbon footprint, but I get embarrassed a little bit because I need to work out how many flights I've been on this year, and I think Greta Thunberg might be
knocking up doors
outside my door now. How dare you!
Oh, God. I don't know. Have you got an electric car?
Not a flight side tick.
You got an electric car?
Yeah.
Have you? Oh, there he is. Surprised you've not got red ones.
I've got a massive BMW diesel guzzler, so I'm all right.
I just walk.
Keeping the turtles and.
Hey, I tell you what. I usually walk because I've got a van and I could drive everywhere, but I don't like to. It's just a bit of exercise first thing in the morning. But I got out the door today and it was frozen over for the first time so far, and I thought I'm not walking on that shit. Jesus, looks deadly out here.
You didn't go for a dip this morning, did you, Wim
I did
Hof?
not know.
Fair weather ice tank. Honestly, get yourself in that North Sea now.
It's a tradition here on Christmas Day. Like, there'll be a big crowd of people gather down, strip off,
jump off at harbour.
See, not off at harbour, but just walking along the beach. It's a lot easier. If we just go for a dip, it's like this weird tradition.
You got to have shoes on though, aren't you, on that beach?
Why?
Fuck turds.
I thought we were going to say like sharp objects. They're all here, out here, crackhead, aren't they?
Not if you throw a 20 quid note down on the fishing line. You still have some staff.
Cheap labour.
Right, I think on that note, Danny, we're going to wrap it up. It's been a good long one this time. I'm going to go take a lemsip and a warm flannel to my forehead and just sit there softly moaning until my mum hears me and brings me some soup. And then you can crack on with the rest of your day now that those screens that you took 4 hours to clean are now finally dry. So, again, thank you very much for listening. We do appreciate everybody chiming in. Keep knocking something into the comments. So I did reply to one of the comments that Danny didn't tell me was there. So
I didn't notice it.
I'll keep looking for it. Don't worry. And we will at some point get round to doing the poll on what mesh counts we use on the lights.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, we will get to it. We've only had a couple of entries because I've not bullied anybody.
Yeah, I need to message.
But now I'm a little bit better. Get ready. I will start bullying people. And all that remains to say is thank you very much. Like the subscribe button.
Like the subscribe button.
I don't know what that means. Subscribe the like button. That's your department. I just stand there and look like this.
Oh, you're stood up as well. God.
No, I'm sat down on the sofa, mate. I've told you I've got man flu. It's worst case doctor's ever seen. I'm like a little hero. I'm like a little soldier, just battling on. I'm going to get a little medal.
Bless you. Bless you.
Right, so thank you very much for tuning in. It's goodbye from me, Tony Palmer at Palm Print, and
I'm off. See you. Bye. It's Danny. You know who I am now. See you later.
Oh, that's different. See you there.
Ta-da. Right, let's stop it.
I don't want lobster thermidor with raspberry Kool-Aid. Friday night, I'm within me rights. I want a Chippy Tea.